Good day everyone. So today our lesson is about the earth process or the endogenic process from the word endo, which means it happens inside the earth's crust or the rigid part of the earth. So the mechanisms involve the formation of rocks, weathering, erosion, and plate tectonics. So as we all know, in terms of formation of rocks, it will happen a lot. It happen a lot of pressure, uh, heat, and also there is a motion of the earth. So weathering is a breaking down of rocks into small pieces or portion. And also, as we all know, plate tectonics always happen when there is something happening under the ground. So this process contribute both the formation and deformation of the earth's landforms and surfaces. So as we all know, diba, that anything that happens in the earth's surface, it has its reason. So, di ba, paano nabuo yung mga volcano, paano nabuo yung mga Sanchez Peak, na sikat dito sa Jensan, Mount Matutum, because there is a process. It is a natural geological process that must happen. Hindi natin ito mapipigilan kung sa itong nangyayari at dapat na mangyari. It is a continuous process. Before human exists, it is already happening. So geologic process is grouped into two, the endogenic and exogenic. So exogenic, kabilang na dito yung weathering, erosion. So endogenic, ito yung nangyayari sa loob ng ating Earth's surface. So Earth's internal structure. So it is also known as the compositional layers of the earth, the crust, the mantle, and the core. So as we all know, crust has two types, the continental and the oceanic crust. So as we've discussed last week about the seafloor spreading, it is where yung oceanic crust ang present doon. Well, continental, this is where a crust is beneath the continents, less dense than oceanic, that is made from granite. As we all know, basalt and granite are the products of a volcano or a formation of volcano. And oceanic crust these are thin crusts beneath the ocean. So from the word itself pa lang, malalaman na natin the difference between the two. And mantle. Mantle has two, divided into two, the upper mantle and the lower mantle. So mantle is a hot liquid, or not liquid, I mean, it is not liquid. Upper mantle is a hotter than the crust, but the upper is much cooler than the lower mantle. Rocks are brittle and break when acted by force. So most of the rocks there is madali siyang mabitak or masira because of the pressure that is exerted. And lower mantle is hotter than the upper mantle. So is cooler than the lower because rocks are brittle. So core, it is the layer of the earth between the crust and the outer core. Chemically distinct from crust and the outer core. So as what I have said earlier, that the mantle part is not liquid, but it is plastic or ductile, where the materials are easily broken when there is force that is exerted in it. So ductile or plastic means that it's very time scale and under pressure. That's the reason why it's still flowing even though it is not liquid. So, and the third one of the compositional layers is the core. So the core is divided into two, the outer and the inner core. So even our planet has its own center. So the core is the innermost part of the earth, just like the sun, di ba? As what we've discussed during nung ating prelim, we discussed about the layers of the sun. So it has core, which is the source of energy of the star. So our earth also has its own core, which is hotter, and also most of the pressure or the heat is coming from there. So the inner core is solid while the outer core is liquid. So outer core is made from iron and nickel. So it is the source of internal heat. So it is the Earth's internal heat or source. Outer core is liquid iron and nickel because of the extreme heat. So temperature there is the same or similar as the sun surface. So diba as we all know, chromosphere is the sun surface of the star, which has an equivalent temperature of our outer core. So inner core is the solid and hotter. So it is much so hotter and it is solid. Extreme pressure keeps the inner core in solid form. So because of the pressure inside the inner core, that's the reason why that the formation is solid. So Earth's core, the planet furnace. So Earth's interior is very hot. It increases as we get nearer to the core. So the core is 6,000 degrees Celsius in terms of its temperature, which is nearly hot as the surface of the sun. So as what I've discussed kanina, so they have similarities or the same in terms of the temperature of the sun's surface and our core. So those three are the compositional layers of the earth. So also we have the mechanical layers. We have the lithosphere, asthenosphere, mesosphere, and the outer core. So when we say lithosphere, it is where, so as you can see in the picture, so lithosphere covers the crust and the upper mantle. So outermost and most rigid. Includes crust and mantle. Thickness is about 6 to 70 kilometer in terms of diameter. And it can be very thin. So even as you have seen, diba, in the PowerPoint, it is very thin nga naman. So yung nakikita ng ating mata, it is part of the lithosphere, just like the oceanic crust and the continental crust. And the second one is the asthenosphere. So asthenosphere is about 100 kilometer in terms of its thickness, which means baga siya. When we say thickness, kabagaon sa isa ka parte. So a region where the mantle that flow relatively. So as we all know naman, that mantle is not liquid, but it's still flowing because of the force that is present. And the third is the mesosphere. Mesosphere is beneath the asthenosphere. So it compasses the lower mantle, and the only layer of the earth that is liquid. I mean, it encompasses the lower and the material stays flowing. So the upper and the lower mantle, because of the mesosphere, because the mesosphere can be found in the beneath the asthenosphere, which is the lower mantle. So that's the reason why it is not liquid but flowing. And the fourth one is outer core. It is the layer of the earth which is liquid iron and nickel. So the only layer of the earth that is liquid. So ito lang yung layer ng earth that as we all know, liquids, which means the molecules are not so compacted to each other. So kasabot namin gid pag mayong tag liquid, dili kayo compacted ang each molecule. So flow of liquid of outer core is because of the presence of magnetic field. So if you're familiar with moho, or where's the picture of moho? Here. So moho or moho-revisic discontinuity. So moho is the boundary between crust and the mantle. So it is used to surface or surpass at which seismic waves change in velocity. So that is how moho can be found, or kung asa siya banda ang moho-revisic discontinuity. So source of heat or Earth's heat. First is compression of matter that compose Earth. So anything that composes the Earth also an aid of its heat. So lahat ng baga, tawag dyan, nakakabigay or because of the compression that happens ng presence of matter, even the rocks. So those are the reason kung bakit may init ang Earth. Sinking of heavier metals such as iron, nickel, well, those are the example or one of the heavier metals that aid for this what we call heat of the Earth. And the third one is slump of the planetesimal or early planetesimal which lumps into the Earth or residue heat. So lahat ng sagpan ng Earth or ang ating planeta, it is also nagbibigay ng init sa ating Earth's core. And radioactive decay within the Earth's core. Lahat ng present sa ating core, it also give heat to our planet. So, alpha, the deca, and gamma, so those helps or decaying or the decay within the Earth's core. So Earth's inner temperature, so we have the layers, the inner core, the outer core, mantle, and crust. So in terms of the composition, inner core is solid metal, outer is liquid metal, mantle is heated rock, and crust is a cooler rock. So in terms naman of their temperature, pag sinabi natin crust, it is about 6 to 700 degrees Celsius. At ang ating mantle naman is 870 degrees Celsius to 4,400 degrees Celsius. And the outer core is 4,400 to 6,100 degrees Celsius. And our inner core is 7,000 to 8,000. So diba, it's very obvious that our core is very hot. And in terms of thickness, inner core is 2,400 kilometer in terms of diameter. And outer core is 23,000 kilometer, and our mantle is 2,900, and our crust is 6 to 70 kilometer. So, which means that the mantle has or siya itong pinakabaga kumbaga in terms of thickness, it is the mantle which is 2,900 kilometer. So pumapangalawa si inner core which has 2,400 and outer core, and then the last is the crust. So as you see naman kanina that it is the most kumbaga thin part of the layers of the Earth. So each layer, meron silang iba-ibang temperature. Magkaiba sila, hindi sila magkapareho. Because the core is the center, that's the reason why it is very hot than the others. And also it is because the source of the heat or the Earth's heat. So formation of magma. So kaya merong volcano because of the magma. So magma is the molten rock beneath the Earth's surface. So beneath, which means inside the Earth's surface. So lahat ng nasa loob ng volcano, it is what we call magma. But if lumabas na ito, a molten rock that flowed out onto the Earth's surface, it is called lava. So we must hindi familiarize, but always remember, pag nasa labas na ng Earth's surface, lava, pag nasa loob, magma. So magma forms only in places where the conditions lead them to melt rocks or solid rocks. So doon lang pwedeng ma-form ang isang magma wherein there is a constant temperature na nakakalid sa kanya na kaya niyang tunawin ang isang bato. So there are things na nakaka-reason kung bakit nag-grow or nagsa-start yung pag-grow ng isang volcano. We have the decompression and addition of volatiles. So decompression, as you can see the picture, the example of that one is the seafloor spreading. So decompression melting takes place as a result of less pressure being exerted on rocks. So it only happens when there is pressure inside the Earth's surface. Decompression, melting, is the upward movement of the Earth's lower mantle. So if you can see, last week we discussed about the seafloor. If this is the seafloor and the seafloor is spreading, so maganyan man yan sila maghiwalay. So yung less dense na material inside the Earth, yun yung mag-a-arise. So that's the reason why nag-a-arise yung magma akyat sa Earth's surface. Then, the reduction pressure enables the rock to melt. So, because of the heat or intense heat or constant heat, it results to the melting of rocks, then leads into magma formation. So, in addition to volatiles, there is a presence of carbon dioxide and water. So there is some, di ba, na very hot and dry rock. And because of the diffusion of water, so it creates di ba, pag ang tubig gani o bato nga grabe kay imong ibutang, na tendency na magbuak siya, mag-crack. So parang ganito yung nangyayari sa adding of volatiles. Ang result, the rock begins to melt because yung diffusion of water, nag-a-add ito na yung uminit pa na uminit lalo yung mga rocks. So melting due to heat transfer. So in analogy, it is like injecting hot fudge or hot chocolate inside the ice cream. So because of that hot fudge, it results to melting of ice cream. Parang ganun yung nangyayari sa heat transfer. So as you can see in the picture, so kumbaga yung basaltic magma, because of ito yung hot fudge, because of that, it transfers. So doon nag-create yung magma. So it can also occur when rising body of hot materials essentially bake the nearby rock. So the heat is already there, naana siya, nag-occur na siya, nag-exist na siya. So mauna to siya ang aid kung anong nag-start og magmatism or nagkaroon og melting. Kaya gina-transfer to niya ang init sa isa ka surface. Parera gud anang nagainit ka og tubig. Katong kalayo gikan sa imong uling, mag-transfer to siya sa imong kaldero. So ang ending dara, katong kaldero na sulod ang tubig, boil gina siya because of the heat. So mura siya gyapog same sa melting of magma. Kay gina-transfer niya ang heat paadto sa another portion or rocks. So magmatism is a process by which magma is formed. It is also described as a subsequent displacement interaction with solid rock and solidification. So there is a melting of magma, and also that is the reason why nga nung mabuo ang volcano. So just like Camiguin Island and Hawaii, so Hawaii is a hotspot country, while Camiguin is the product of a volcano. So, nagkaroon ng Camiguin Island dahil sa rising of volcano. After it erupts, so it starts na tumira yung mga tao doon. But until today, meron pa ring bagong volcano sa Camiguin. So, and also in Hawaii, because it is the center or what we call the hotspot, maghahanap talaga yung magma or yung pressure inside para lumabas. That's the reason why ang daming active volcano sa Hawaii. So movement of magma, because magma is molten, less dense, it increases its buoyancy. Kumbaga yung kagaanon, then it rises upward. So it happens in seafloor spreading. So when the seafloor spread, the less dense material rises upward. So that is magma. So the weight of surrounding rocks creates a pressure. So because of the surrounding rocks, dahil sa pressure na na-create niya, it squeezes then magma into the cracks. So ito yung nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng channel going all the way to the Earth's surface. So because of the surrounding rock, kaya mas lalong umiinit yung material inside. So mas lalong nagkakaroon ng consistency of melting. Magma chamber. Because of the surrounding, muinit siya nga muinit, ang ending mo, erupted siya. So from magma to rock, so if the magma kanang dili na kayo consistent or constant ang heat and pressure nga naa sa sulod sa earth or sa lithosphere, munang ang result is mahimo siyang rock. So muna na ginatawag nato na intrusive igneous rock. So it results to coarse grain type of rock. So nagaano sila dito, nag-solidify. Kay kumbaga ang iyang material is magma cools slowly and this results into intrusive igneous rocks. Kumbaga nabuo sila into rocks ang magma inside the vent. So that's all. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. So always remember that magmatism helps the motion, formation, and deformation of the earth. So ano gini siya natural process, a geologic process. It can never be, dili gini mo ni siya mapugngan. Kay mahitabo gini siya nga mahitabo because it is natural nga mahitabo sa isa ka Earth's lithosphere. So I hope you enjoy the lessons and I hope you gain something from it. So thank you and God bless.